All right. Welcome back to another live stream. I just check if everything works for sure. Yeah, let me get rid of this towel as well. It's not as professional. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, sound okay. Yeah, so let me just check if Rudi is also tuned in. The chat is also working. Okay, so everything should be fine. So the track at hand is going to be called Over You, and it's by Rudi Simon, who I've worked with quite a few times, and he is actually a good friend of mine. And yeah, he asked me if if I could make this track sound a little bit better than how they had it, because they also sent me. So Rudi also sent me his mix and his collaborator's mix, Marcel Aquila, I believe. And yeah, I mean, actually, let's start by just listening through what their idea is about the track. And I also just briefly listened already through the stems, and everything is sounding pretty nice already to me. So it's probably not going to be like a crazy amount of changes needed. But yeah, let's listen to the rough mix first, and we'll go from there. So both like Rudi's mix and Marcel's mix is like different in terms of their like level of aggression, I would say. And I think we should aim for in terms of like overall like compression and limiting like between these 2 points, in my opinion, at least at first listen, and then we'll see if any challenges, if we face any challenges when we are working with the single stems. So let's start the session. How I would start every single time is by looking at the kick drum if everything is sounding right about it. If not, then we are going to fix that first. Sounds perfect to me, so I'm not even really going to mess all that much with it. The color coding I'm actually going to remove, because I just the stems came to me in 3 different packs, and I just wanted to make sure that I have everything together. But I actually, let's make them the regular audio channel color. Perfect. I'm just thinking if we need this much clicking, but we will only know this when the whole song is playing in context. But yeah, what was bothering me was the stereo, not even the click itself, but that's also at this point solved now. So yeah, I'm just going to go through the single stems like I always do, and check if there's anything that would need to be adjusted on a single stem level before I would move on to contextualize the song. Because there's already side chain on the sub at least, and then we'll see how it is about the other stems. I'm not going to add. I'm probably not going to add more, but yeah, I mean that's what. So these are the things that I'm thinking right now, just by looking at the stems for the first time, because I just like got everything together yesterday, and yeah, I'm basically seeing everything and listening to like as far as the stems individually go. I'm listening for pretty much for the first time. I just checked briefly if everything is like loading up and everything is right in terms of like their level, and if I can see the waveforms. But yeah, otherwise, other than that, I'm also just seeing everything for the first time. Okay, this is something that I will come back to, because what I suspect is that maybe like these so these things happen in between the grid hits, and they're also like pretty stereoized. So these are some reverbs, some diffusion delay, or like I don't know how this was created exactly. But what I'm thinking at listening alone is that maybe these will need to be moved into the middle, so that just so that they are not creating any sort of like distraction, or like not. So what I want to kind of avoid is that these things should not feel like as if this was something unintentional and something like that's clicking because it's like a mistake. That's what I wanna like kind of avoid. But I don't know. Once again, like these things will. I'm just going through everything, and I'm kind of noting everything in my like memory as I go through all the stems, and when the whole context is there, I'm going to like come back if to see if like these things will need to be adjusted or not. But these are the little things whenever what I'm always trying to keep in mind when I'm going through these like individual stems. And this is what I've explained in previous streams as well, is this is one of the reasons why I almost always start just by going through the individual stems to check if everything is like 100% sounding right, and without any chance of anything sounding like a mistake, because I just don't want to. I don't even want to give the opportunity if this makes sense. But yeah, for the time being, I'm going to leave it as it is and just check the other things. Yeah, so this one I'm going to put on a different channel, assuming these things are the same. I'm just going to make it a little bit louder. Okay, so about drums, and this is actually a good thing that this comes up, because I don't want the drums tail to move over to the kick, and maybe okay, so we also might need to adjust the stems just a little bit. And actually, for the time being, I'm also going to do this like this. Yep. Because so I just want to make sure that everything is perfectly 100% on the grid. And what I just noticed is that, for example, the kick drum is starting a little bit after the grid. And for example, if later on I change my mind and if I would need to set up sidechain, by not having everything on the grid would pretty much mess up my my whole routing, because how the sidechain works, and actually it's triggered by this whole channel of which is called Ghost. And because this is not playing, this is like literally just a sidechain trigger. And how I set it up is I move it a little bit before the grid. And so this does two things. And one, and which is probably is the most important, is that it makes me like kind of. So let me actually show how this works in practice, because it's easier that way. So whenever you have a sidechain setup, and it's pretty easy to set up in Logic, it's like literally says sidechain, and you can just select the audio where you want it to be routed from. So by setting it earlier than when the hit would happen, I'm first of all I can like time it better, because I can adjust this. So I don't always 100% keep it at the same point where you see it. Like sometimes I move it like this, and of course I'm moving the whole channel, so it's like everything. Sorry, and but this is not even the bigger thing, because like this is kind of like like shaping a little bit of like how the sidechain's curve is going to be. But the bigger thing is that when you are using a compressor and you set your attack times pretty short, which is like a lot of times you want to have it pretty short because you want the sidechain to be triggered like pretty fast. However, this sometimes results in clicking, and to minimize this clicking, like you have essentially two weapons. One is to like increase the attack, which is going to partially solve this problem, but then it's going to it has the potential to like time the sidechain also like away from where you want it to happen. And this is where this like magical solution comes in, to like adjust the actual trigger a little bit earlier than how you would want to have it, because then in this scenario I can raise the attack and have the benefit of not having the click, and also have the benefit of the sidechain hitting at the right time, because I'm how much I'm raising this attack, that's the point where I want to like roughly, I mean this is not really exact, and probably the trigger is still going to happen a little bit earlier, just so that I have this curve benefit as well from this whole situation, that it ducks down a little bit earlier than the kick drum would happen, so the kick can like 100% cut through, because there's already because the level has already decreased at that point. But I'm also not going to get the click, because the attack has been raised, and I'm not getting this this issue of like the sidechain actually being delayed. So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, so I started explaining this, is that if so this pretty much only works well, at least if I have for the kick and every other instrument hitting right on the grid. So if I have any sort of like inconsistencies on the main channels themselves, like the kick drum or the bass or like whatever else I want to sidechain, or what I want to sidechain to, then I would need to either adjust the stems, or I would need to adjust the sidechain. And in this situation, I believe it was just much easier to deal with the stems like this. But yeah, at this point in time, I'm not really thinking about sidechaining anything just yet. So we'll see how this is gonna go down. However, what I initially started to try to explain, at least, is to whenever there's these sub drums, like how this channel is called, and it's pretty much the best description for it. I couldn't come up with a better name for this situation. Is that basically when you want to have these low hitting rhythmic elements in between the kick drums, and they are also playing together with the bass, you really need to think about which are the the important frequency parts of that of the sound itself, because if they are hitting too low, and too much of the low information is coming from these sub hits, then they will clash with the bass. And to not clash with the kick, and this is what I want to first be sure that this is not happening, I'm going to get rid of these tail points. And it's also like it's not a lot of things are happening here, but when in the later stages, when I'm going to be pushing the song into a limiter and I'm going to compress it and everything and any other like processing basically that I do that will affect the dynamic range of the song. These might get up to a point where they are like pushed together and they will produce this clashing. They might, you know, mess up my low end, and if you mess up the low end, everything else will get messed up as a result, as long as you're pushing something into a limiter, because the low end is what's affecting limiters the most. And yeah, this is something that just right away, if I know how to avoid it right away, then I'm going to take these like sort of countermeasures to start working on the track like this. And so this is kind of the boring part of of this job. And also what I'm noticing is that maybe this is I mean, I assume this was produced in Ableton, but I'm not sure. And if yes, then maybe there was some warping. Oh no, so I think these are the same, but they don't exactly start on the grid. So this is also something that I want to correct in this case. Yeah, so these little audio editing situations are kind of boring, but they are also kind of necessary, like if you want to have the best result. And so my question now is if these are exactly the same or not. Yeah, these are the same. So what that means is that then I want to have one really good, and then I'm just going to copy paste it around. Okay, I'm not going to need anything else for the time being. What's also slightly bothering me is that this is tuned to a different key than what the song is in. So let's try to take care of this. This is not really strictly a part of the mixing process itself, but I strongly believe that if everything is cohesive, then the whole track will ultimately sound better at the end. And so this is like not all drums need to be tuned, but in situations like this, I think this is something that it would just feel better to me if I at least tried, and then we'll compare the two versions if this is like improving the track or not improving the track. If it's not improving, I'm just going to like okay, so this should be it. But I want to have the whole tail just in case I will need it. And let's call this percussion tuned. Oh, wait. Need to be more careful because the the streaming stuff is on this side, and I never realized that my mouse is crossing on the other side. Okay, so let's just import this. Perfect, and I think this could be now copy pasted with confidence. So yeah, I mean, this is hitting probably a little bit too low, and we will need to like get rid of these sub frequency ranges and compensate on a little bit higher ones, just so that the clashing with the sub is not going to be as noticeable. Or I mean, it's not just I don't want it to be noticeable, but I don't want any like true clashing to happen. And maybe this is so sometimes this is unavoidable, but yeah, we are going to try to do our best here. Okay, I'm once again just copy pasting the sounds here, and let's check why is this that much louder, if this is a different sound or it was just increased in level, but it's the same thing. No, so it is the same thing, and I assume that this is probably an export mistake instead of something that's happening deliberately. But yeah, I'm going to like once again just put this into my memory that those two drum hits were like louder here, but at first glance, because this is there's nowhere else where this would happen, my first guess is that this is an export issue, and this is not an artistic expression of something, you know. Okay, so let's get back to this section. So what I kind of wish would be the case is like if I had a little bit more like middle information from this lead, because this is like pretty nice and wide, but this is like as wide as it can get, and I don't have I think we don't have enough middle information to make this I mean, this could be a good thing and a bad thing, because if this lead is playing together with the lead vocal, this is probably a good thing, because then it's not going to coincide with the lead vocal. But if this is supposed to be like the lead instrument, then it being on the left and the right side instead of middle, which is like kind of stereoized, then what this means essentially is that this is not going to be mono-compatible. And maybe this is not going to be an issue, but it's once again something that I'm making a mental note of myself, and I'm going to do all the processing that I do with the intention of probably wanting to go a little bit more towards making the side, making the mid information a little bit stronger instead of making the side information stronger, because that's probably already strong enough. So there are some clicks in this stem, which I'm not sure if so I don't necessarily want to get rid of these clicks because they give me the rhythmic pattern, and that's probably a good thing. But at the same time, I want a little bit want them to be a little bit less noticeable. So this is why I loaded up this plugin, which is like once again I've explained this in previous streams. But my methodology with situations like this is like I want to use at least, you know, for the first part of my processing chains, I want to use as many like emulation type of plugins as possible, because I want to try to make things sound as real as possible. And I'm not using anything outboard because I think, first of all, like they are too expensive for what they, for the percentage improvement that they would give, and also it's kind of a nightmare to like, you know, use like whoever has any sort of like experience with any outboard gear already knows this, but you know, all the tubes go like wrong and they need time to warm up, and you know, it's just the maintenance of like certain units is just not really worth the effort. And so I genuinely think, and like at this point, I think most of the even the big guys are pretty much almost all of them have completely changed to mix in the box, and this is what I believe in as well. But at the same time, I want to have the best. I want to give myself the best chance of sounding real, and this is why I'm starting my processing chain usually with something that's kind of an analog emulation plugin. And so what you see on the screen is essentially the points where it takes away these like clicking transients. And I'm trying to set it up in a way where I still hear some of them, but where it would be like where it would start to bother me, those things are getting removed. Awesome. So let's see if we also need compression from this unit or not. I'm not completely sold on the idea of like compressing this at all, because this is already sounding pretty good. But let's see if it improves it or not. Yeah, so as far as compression goes, I like what I'm hearing, so I don't really think it needs anything more drastic than this. Maybe at the end of the processing chain, I might add the breakpoint limiter, just to make sure that these transient things are not poking over at a certain point where I wouldn't want them to poke over. So I'm actually going to do this in a way where the compression is going to happen before the adjustment, but this warmth control is going to happen after the EQ. So what I was checking if it's on purpose that these press steps are hitting like so much further away from the grid. And I mean, actually, I'm just going to check if this improves it or not, or like maybe makes it weird. They hit here. Let's check.
I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long, nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again.
So once again, this is super nice and wide, but it might be like, once again, just a little bit too wide. And instead of doing it like this, let's add back what I took away in a way which is going to be a little bit more mono friendly. So what's interesting is I feel that taking away is actually making things a lot worse, and so this is the exact opposite of what I initially thought, that maybe we might even need to like increase the stereo weight of it a little bit to make this like occupy the space that it really needs and where it sounds the best. For these extremely small, like little, so these diffusion delays, we could try to set up a gate, maybe, you know, to like further like reduce them, but probably I don't want to do that. So in the rough mixes, this is not even really audible. So what this tells me, at least, is that these little things are not that important. I don't yet 100% know how to go about this, but when I have more context with the vocal also in and everything else in, I'm going to decide about how to work with this. Now also what I'm noticing is that the top loop is also not perfectly yet on the grid. So these things I need to fix. So once again, I'm not sure if this is the result of the warping enabled in live, but I'm not even sure if this needs, like really truly needs any sort of extra treatment. But what I'm thinking whenever I look at stuff that's not perfectly on the grid is, for example, I have the lead, which is like this much on the grid, and if the shakers and or like the bass or something else, so if not everything else is on the same grid pattern, like you can use swing, but then it pretty much only makes sense if everything else swings, you know, in comparison for the main thing that you're deciding to make it swing. So what I'm saying here is that if you come up with a pattern, for example, for a bass where you think that swinging sounds good, then it really truly only will make things sound like cohesive in the when the whole song is done, if all your the shakers are also on the same swinging grid, and like the leads and everything else. So it like for example, if these shakers are not swinging or like not exactly on the same grid, basically this is the whole point, as everything else, it might not be as good as it could be. And yeah, this is something that I'm thinking about right now, whether if I want to start messing around with this, because sometimes what happens if you so if at this point where if I try to solve everything from audio files, I might make bigger issues with trying to correct these things than if I just left everything how it is. But I want to at least listen, you know, how things are sounding if I try to adjust things a little bit. Regarding the shaker loop, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be different, because I strongly suspect that this is like supposed to be the same thing. And in this case, I'm going to once again turn to my good old friend, the copy paste solution, and I'm going to do it like this. think for the intro and the outro, I'm going to leave how it was, and then only do this thing when it's inside the drop and when it like really coincides with a lot of things that are otherwise on the grid. Hey guys, hey guys. What's the dinosaur? Awesome. So by the way, also like Marcel and Rudi, if you're still watching, or I don't know if you want to sleep already or not, but like if you have any comments, please also like write me. Either I'm going to check briefly on Instagram, but no additional comments, or like here in the chat, like if you don't agree with anything that I'm doing or what I'm thinking, like, because like I can only like think about like whenever I'm mixing a song, I'm trying to put myself into the position of the artist, like what was the what could go in his mind when he's producing the song, because like at this point I think I've made over 1,000 tracks in my lifetime, so I have a pretty good like idea of certain things, but at the same time I don't know everything, and I can't know like how other people think about stuff. So if I'm just wrong about something, like please also just let me know in the chat. So we're going to like see if this is a good idea or not, but my intention tells me to remove it from the point where the drop is starting in. So it's happening here. So what I'm thinking whenever like this is kind of a standard thought that goes through my head whenever I'm working with shakers or like any sort of like these high-end like kind of sizzling loops, is that maybe it would be a good idea if they would like move a little bit from left to right. Now, once again, this is also something that I have explained in previous videos, that I'm not really a fan of directly panning stuff. So it's like putting something directly on the left side or directly on the right side. I don't really think that works. In my opinion, that's just too distracting. But at the same time, I want width, and to solve this issue I could like utilize something that's kind of like symmetrical in a sense, that creates this movement between left and right, and these things are sounding like much more natural to me at least. And instead of just putting something on the left directly or on the right directly, that just doesn't really like, at least for me, it doesn't really translate. So that being said, I also don't want to be too aggressive with what I do, but just a touch. Also, I'm seeing something here. Once again, I'm going to assume that this is just an export error situation here, so I'm just going to like delete it. Now, when in any situation when I have multiple stems on one channel, I kind of need to treat this stem as if I mastered like a single stem or something along these lines, because I just can't make the same like broad moves even if I need to, because otherwise I would affect all the. I mean, I assume that this is the effect stem for all the like impact and all the like maybe the sub hits and whatnot. So I can't directly like cut or like maybe I will need to like move these parts over to new channels or like something like I would need to look for workarounds to do the broader moves that I want to make. But other than that, I'm probably I will need to like treat this channel with a little bit more caution, because I don't want to. So even if I want to affect something to affect one sound in the channel, I might not want to affect another thing in the channel. So it's like it's a little bit of a compromising situation, and this is why I'm not really a fan of like having these grouped stems and like just grouping stuff in general. As long as you're working with someone else, like I mean, if you like something and you want to commit to it, then sure, group everything together and work on it like that. But if you, especially if you plan on like later on sending the stems to someone, it's always a better idea to at least give yourself the option to be able to like de-group and or like to get everything separated to single channels, because that way whoever is going to work on the song can I mean hopefully can do a better job than on a group stem. But from because I've also sent out like songs before, so I'm not going to so that there's two sides of this coin. Like obviously like the artist is kind of like producing the song and is like super used to how it sounds and like likes it and whatnot, and doesn't want at the end of the production process to come in like the mix engineer or like the mastering engineer guy and like mess up everything that he or she had. So I completely understand this, and sometimes I feel the same way whenever I get my stuff back from mixing or mastering like engineers. And on the contrary of this is that it's very easy to lose perspective when you've been working on a song for super long. And this is what I also like personally I try to remind myself, because many times it happens that the songs that I produce are not going to get mastered or like not get. I mean, for the most part, I try to keep mixing to myself, but it happens every now and then that someone else is mixing, or like and it happens like quite a lot that someone else is mastering my tracks, just so that I have also like 2 extra ears who can maybe like correct stuff that maybe I'm not aware of. Selena Quintanilla, I'm going to check it out, but I don't I can't 100% promise that I'm going to remix any artist or any project, just because of the fact like a lot of people are asking me about like other remix projects and whatnot, and I always feel like stupid about these situations, but I'm at the point, funnily enough, like, but I'm at the point where I just cannot really accept all that many projects anymore, because otherwise I would just run out of time. Even like this project, it's 11 p.m. So my day goes from morning to the evening by working, and this is the point where I have time to actually like stream and do something like this. So it's like I just honestly like I can't promise like these things like this, because I just don't really have the time. Cut off the reverb on drop start. I believe that's what I already did, right? Hopefully that's what you meant. No. It's not really about laziness, because like a lot of times what happens, and this happens to me also, it's like whenever I stamp down a project and I can actually see the waveform, a lot of things are not clear to me just by simply listening. And I like for example, like these tail overflows, like if I don't see that visually that this is happening, it's chances are I'm not going to hear it. So these are not, I don't think these are like lazy things. It's just something that you don't pick up in. So also like when you're producing like a whole song and you're basically at that point you're everything is pretty much ready and you're judging everything in context, these things are like pretty much impossible to spot at that time. And this is why I was also like elaborating on this previously, why it's oftentimes a good idea to get other people involved, like not even necessarily for to mix it, like I mean, I'm not really part of like these bigger budget projects at this point in time, but I also know like that some like bigger artists, or what they are doing is that they send out their songs to like 5 different mix engineers and 5 different mastering engineers, and they pick the best combination out of them, just because like everyone has a different opinion, everyone's taste works a little bit differently with every single track, and yeah, so this is never really. I mean, I don't view it as laziness. It's just something that someone else who because I'm now I can come in with a fresh perspective. I can now judge it from a fresh perspective, and I can like kind of correct if there's anything that was maybe like overlooked. So my goal right now is to make sure that this percussive thing does not coincide with the bass, or that does not create any sort of clashing. And so far so good. And once the limiter is going to be here, things might get slightly different, but we're going to take care of that at that time. So at this point, I think let's get started with introducing the vocals, because the instrumental is something like at this point pretty good. Let's see if we need to make any sort of like compromises. Now also, because I've worked with Rudi previously, I already know that this air stem I probably won't like, but it's I'm going to try to do my best to respect everything that's in here. But maybe like this is what I've been like I remember once I did this, is that I might recreate this air how I think it would make more sense. And even if like Rudi and Marcel decide that this is not the way to go about it, even then it's probably a good idea to like show these types of like alternative solutions on stream. Let's start messing with the main lead vocals first, and then we can get, after that's done, to the other stuff. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again. So tuning wise, this doesn't need anything. It's pretty like so she's a pretty good singer. I think, however, that on the processing side, we are missing some of her like body. I don't hear the like the chest, which is like in the case of some male singers who go like really down low. This is a good thing that you don't hear the brum brum brum. But from a female singer, usually I would like to hear a little bit more from this like the character parts of her tone. So that's what I'm going to try to bring out now. I've also like explained this previously, that I think personally, like for me at least, what works more is like if I'm trying to bring out more character out of something, or like more body, I'm much more inclined to use the SSR general strip EQ than anything else. If I feel that I would need more high-end control, then I would use the Neve, because I think the Neve gives me like a little bit like smoother high-end. So I'm not entirely sure if maybe what I'm experiencing is like entirely psychological, or if there's anything like like really truly happening in terms of like the plugin, how it's emulating the real unit, because I haven't had the chance to like work with a real Neve panel before. But in our situation right now, I think the the SSL one is going to be the better solution for EQing in general out of this body tone, because it brings it out in a little bit more real way, at least to my ears.
Didn't need for you to need me, just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again.
Okay, so
You to need me.
and now that this is here, I think, because I can kind of hear why this procedure was being done, because I assumed that this was like already like at some point in the original session that this was taken away from the vocals, this mid-range, and instead of taking it away all the time, I think I wanted to introduce some sort of a dynamic process to it, whether it's like multi-band compression or dynamic EQ. I'm going to roll with dynamic EQ for the time being, because I think this is going to be more towards what I have in my head. But let's see if it works.
Didn't need for you to need me, just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there.
Because I think now we have solved this mid-range, like it's not giving us any sort of like resonancy or like a sort of weird things, but at the same time it's also not that thin how it was.
Need me, just wanted you to care.
For example, at this part, I believe
just wanted you to care.
It's going to be like more audible. Yeah, so it needs a little bit of compression, or maybe even a little bit of a limiting at the end. Well, we'll see. Let's try out some things. Maybe actually I want to use this. Not really. I think I want to use one.
Didn't need for you to need me, just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again. Need for you to need me, just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again.
So what I'm doing right now is basically I'm trying to, with a neutral EQ, like the Pro Q3, or like I could use the Ozone EQ, for example. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that nothing more is happening than what you see on the screen, because in the case of using an EQ, which is an analog emulation unit, like for example this one, or I could also like load up the, I don't know, like these Neve emulation ones. It doesn't really matter, and they don't have to be like UAD plugins, but the whole point that matters is that they are trying to emulate something from the real world, like real rec units. So what happens with these units is that they add a little bit more than what you can see on the screen as well, because they also emulate the circuitry that's behind these units. Like for example, like some of them are going to give some distortion. Some of them are going to like straight up try to like emulate the noise that certain machines are giving, which I think it's kind of I personally think this is kind of a stupid idea, but like, you know, basically why not? All that matters is that you know about it, that certain plugins are going to create noise on purpose. Like for example the which is it, the Empressor, I believe. I don't have it installed, I think. Let me check. Plugin Alliance, right? Oh, okay, I have it. So this floor, for example, this is emulating the noise of the unit, which is, I mean, people like, I mean, the people who invented these, created the first outboard gear were trying to get rid of noise, and now people are emulating noise from plugins, which is like kind of funny to me. But like back to the point is that these units are supposed to emulate also the circuitry. So these are not. Whenever I'm making these EQ moves, I'm also like trying to make a little bit more broader moves than I would normally make, because I'm getting more out of this circuitry thing. And sometimes I want this, sometimes I don't want this. And when I want this, I'm going more broad. And when I don't want this, I'm going to compensate with a neutral sounding EQ. And for example, here, I don't want to boost with that EQ, because I believe that would give me like a little bit too much of this, I don't know the proper English word for it. It's like, this type of like crunching feeling, that's happening in this range, which is I don't necessarily want. And that's what I would anticipate by, if I were to like try to like do it with that type of plugin, that would happen. So I don't necessarily want that. But at the same time, I wanted to increase this point a little bit, and I also wanted to take away the very low end information, because this is also something that I do a lot of times. Is I'm going to bump up the very low frequency ranges, and what this does to the vocal essentially is like. So how this works is I'm boosting this low end signal like by quite a lot, and what this does actually is because of what I just previously explained, that this is also like working the circuitry, like it's engaging it a little bit more. I'm driving it to the extreme in a sense, but because the vocal doesn't really have any sort of like valuable ranges in those like low sub regions, I'm actually not really doing a whole lot to the vocals other than affecting the overtone regions of these sub frequencies, which might have a pleasant effect on the vocals. And they, in my experience, this solution has saved quite a few vocals that I've worked with previously that didn't have this body, that didn't have this character, didn't have this tone feeling. And so this is why I also did it here. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want to leave this thing here, because
didn't need for you to need me.
At the same time, what I'm doing for certain recordings is that if the I'm also like pushing up this low end rumble, like what was created during recording, and so I want to get rid of that at the later part of the process with a neutral EQ.
Just wanted you to care.
Okay, so now these things are done. The only thing that's, to my ears at least, that's missing is a little bit of de-essing, because I feel the S's are a little bit too sharp.
Didn't need for you to need me. Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you.
I think everything is perfectly fine. I just want to make sure that these peaks don't cross a point where, they would create any sort of issues later down the line. So I'm just going to shave those off.
Didn't need for you to need me. Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again. Over you, I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna. Holding on for too long, nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again. Me. Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you.
But now I think that the mid range of the vocal is nice, but I think because of this contrast that I now introduced, the high end might have suffered a little bit, so I'm going to adjust that.
Didn't need for you to need me. just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again.
I don't see why this was separated exactly, but I think I'm going to put this one here and maybe create a little bit of a crossfade so that I don't miss anything for sure.
But now I see, and I won't go back again. For too long, nothing was.
This sounds a little bit very, very slightly different to me than this channel. Probably was a little bit differently processed. Yeah, so I'm just reading the chat. I'm trying to. So with live performances, I mean, this is actually a good question. What happens in many cases is that essentially, like, so whenever you're going through any sort of like a system with microphone and with like amplifiers and whatnot, chances are there's going to be an EQ anyway sometimes in the route. So like these things what I'm making are pretty easily replicable at least to some degree, and live performances can never be as like, you know, perfect as something that's happening inside of a mixing session like this. That's just not really a thing pretty much ever, unfortunately. Like even for the best singer on the planet, you know, sometimes there's going to be some pitch imperfections, and I mean, this is just my experience because I you know, like I know that some people don't care about this much, but I know about certain singers who don't even like to sing into autotune, for example, when they are singing live, because that would like what they hear, you know, coming like back to them from the like the venue reverberation or whatnot, this distracts them from the actual like performance when they hear like something like different back than what they are actually singing. So, you know, like, but I think this is a good thing. Like I don't the reason we want to make the production process like perfect things is because we are competing against other perfect products. It's not necessarily that, you know, I believe that I need to, like, you know, tweak this vocal like left, right, up, upside, downside, or whatnot. It's not really about all this, in my opinion, at least. But it's just that whenever this song is getting uploaded to Spotify, it's going to get compared against like other songs that are, you know, other people have decided to make them also sound perfect. So this is why, you know, we need to make these moves so that in comparison, this is going to fill out all the same checkboxes in terms of like quality that we need to do. But first of all, this is, I believe, to at least 85% is going to be replicable live, and also like this takes. I mean, this is how I view it. Like that this does not take anything away from the singer. However, I also know that certain singers don't really like extreme processing on their vocals because they want it as dry as possible. And, you know, I also respect that if someone comes back to me after I mix the song that, you know, they don't like it, you know, with too much processing. Okay, thanks for clarifying, Rudi. Yeah, I mean, actually, let's take a look at what's happening in this overlap stem. I think the levels might have been the difference. So I'm going to copy over the same thing.
And I won't go back again.
And also, this is also something that I value a lot, is that when the artists are sending me rough mixes, I prefer to like, I mean, it's not, as just said, I prefer, but I think I have to like compare it at least at some points in my process to check if what I'm doing is aligning with the artist's values or not. And if what I'm doing is too extreme, I'm probably going to dial back. But if overall, if I believe that I'm enhancing what they had in the rough mix, then I'm going to like obviously keep my changes. But if I believe I'm going against some sort of a vision that I feel in the rough mix, then I'm obviously going to like dial back. Now, the unfortunate or like fortunate, or I don't know, kind of situation is that these already have the output chain also on them and limiting and whatnot. But I'm just going to counter compensate with some dropping down the volume a little bit. Now, obviously, I don't have limiting or compression or anything just yet, but I believe, at least, that I've already achieved a little bit more separation, a little bit more clarity, at least in the higher end regions, thanks to mostly to this mid-side boost in the EQ, and also like I believe like these things are also adding to the situation, and yeah, maybe this top loop need a little bit of an EQ treatment as well. Not yet 100% convinced, but let's see. Now, I'm not going to do what I was thinking is to create a different channel, duplicate it, and maybe I'll change my mind tomorrow or I don't know. But right now I don't think I want to duplicate it, because what I was thinking is that I wish I would be able to bring out the clap a little bit more, but without any sort of other dynamic changes to anything else, because I think everything else is nice, but I would like slightly make the clap a little bit higher in volume. So I don't know, I'm going to mess a little bit with trying to solve this with EQ around this range, but there are some other percussion hits and whatnot which I absolutely don't want to enhance, because those are already as loud as they should be, in my opinion. And at this point I'm adding too much of the hi-hats also, which is also not something that I believe would be optimal. So I think this is how it's going to be. Okay, so let's check the other stems. And also I'm going to I mean, obviously there's also I forgot about it, that there's also these effects, but for the time being I'm going to leave the lead vocals completely dry until we like 100% like settle the the levels, how they are cutting through and whatnot. Okay, there are some clicks on this channel, which is not the end of the world. Let's see if we can solve this with a plugin, because if I can solve it with a plugin, it's better than trying to like cut up channels which have already reverbs and delays on them, because like and this is also why I really really love it when people send me stems like this, when it's like the dry vocal and then all the stem, the send, so you know the reverbs and the delays and whatnot are all on separate channels, because this way I can if for example on one stem there's like for example a click or something, I can take it out without affecting the reverb, and like vice versa if I need to do something like this. But on a channel when like there's already reverb and delay on something, if I try to like cut it, sometimes it can sound like extremely artificial and extremely obvious that it was edited. And you know, if I can solve things like this with a plugin, it's almost always better. But the problem is actually that sometimes plugins cannot solve these types of situations well enough, at least. Hopefully with like, you know, more artificial intelligence introduction to also to the plugin world. It's like a big hype at the moment anyway. Maybe like those things will be able to eventually solve these types of situations as well. I don't know. I mean, this RX9 for example, like this is like good enough, but it's also not perfect, to be fair. So let's see. I mean, it's better than how it was, but yeah. So like making the making the sensitivity higher didn't solve this. Sorry, I need to. I'm used to talking this much. Hey Dan, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Good night, Marcel. Thanks for watching the stream. And if maybe you're watching it back tomorrow from this point, or like you can just also just message me on Instagram. Like if maybe like something wasn't right, just let me know, and yeah, we'll take it from there. Appreciate it. It comes with experience, I think. Like much like everyone else, like once you get to a point where you've produced like, I don't know, 1,000 tracks, and you've also mixed like 500, at that point you will also like start to pick up on all these patterns. And yeah, you just need to do it a lot, like much like everything else in life, I believe. So the unfortunate situation is that I'm going to have to try to edit this out somehow, and it might sound unnatural, but hopefully it won't. And if it's too unnatural, we have to leave it how it was. So one thing that I usually try in these situations is I'm going to try to make these tails somehow coincide with each other, with fades and whatnot, and let's hope for the best.
I won't go back again.
And the trick here is that I'm trying to make these like, so move it by a measure of the grid, and this way you have a better chance of sounding natural. Sometimes this is also not going to completely solve the situation, but at this point I think this was something pretty nice. I didn't hear the click anymore when the song was playing in context, which was the goal. I mean, it's still there, but so this is something that's only going to be audible to the artists, because they are the ones who have spent a lot of time working on the song. And so if they pick up on this, then it's probably I will need to like find a different solution. Sometimes messing with other audio editing methods might work, but I would need to like move over to Ableton, and it would be like really time consuming. I really don't want to do this on stream. I would much rather like finish up the rough mix first. And maybe actually, you know what? I can redo this later, so I'm just going to get rid of this for the time being, and I will probably like export this into Ableton and then try to mess with the clicks there, because I do not most, like 99.999% of all my audio editing is happening in Ableton, because it's just, frankly, it's just that much better for this purpose than Logic. Logic has a massive workflow advantage. It's like I can finish a project in Logic from start to finish in a matter of a couple hours, whereas in Ableton it would take me days. And this is not against Ableton, but Ableton has so many options and so many like things that I need to click before I can do something. And like even browsing the plugins is, like, to me at least, it's kind of a like it's a little bit too much trouble compared to how Logic is working. For example, with like I have everything at one click, and it's in Ableton it's much more like I need to click more, and it's a more complicated workflow, but at the same time it gives me also like more options when it comes to like other like the nitty-gritty things. And also when it comes to audio editing, it's just far superior. And it's kind of a stupid joke, but like it's like you want to use German software for for audio editing. And yeah, because like Cubase and Ableton, at least in my experience, are just, you know, superior to everything else that's on the market at the moment. Like whether you're thinking about like even vocal editing, in my opinion, like not even Melodyne, I don't know how to pronounce it 100%. Melodyne, I believe, is like even that's not as good as, for example, the Ableton, where you can like choose these warp settings and like, you know, tailor it 100% to what you wanna do. And I don't know. At least this is my own personal opinion. So everything that I do regarding audio editing, I do in Ableton for this reason. But yeah, let's just move on. And by move on, I mean we are going to try to get this in the context of the mix. And I think at that point we're pretty much going to be like good to go, because only the reverbs and the delays are missing. If I look at things correctly. Yeah, about FL Studio, I haven't used it in quite a few years, but I remember like back then, it's actually quite funny, because in FL Studio, I remember there were these like, you know, when you double click a sound, there's this panel that pops up, and when you do something with the pitch there, it's going to sound differently than if you do it on another panel. Or like I don't know if it's the same, it's still the same like how it was before. What I'm talking about was probably in FL Studio 6 or 7, like it was 12 or like 13 years ago at this point. But I remember that it was like I could do stuff in FL Studio that I couldn't do in anywhere else, and you know that's also like either an advantage or a disadvantage, because none of those pitch corrections were sounding as good as, like, for example, Ableton even at that time. But like that was like, I believe, Ableton 6, maybe even 5. What I switched. I started producing in FL Studio, and I used it until I was 14, 15, maybe even 16, up until that point. And I had a pretty shitty PC, and when an FL update came, I believe it was FL 8, and they introduced some like new graphics or something like this. It kind of like made my PC like really struggle with it. And so at that point, I've heard about Ableton, and I switched to it, and I contemplated all my previous life choices up until that point, because I just realized that FL Studio was like basically nothing compared to Ableton. But at the same time, you know, Ableton is like, and this is ultimately why I eventually, I think it happened 3 years after this. I think I was 19 when I made the switch to Logic, and I've been producing in Logic ever since. Is that I realized that the workflow advantage in Logic is just like too much. And at that time, I started getting some like ghost production and other like work related jobs, and I started to treat music like essentially professionally at that point. And I kind of like needed to make sure that a project doesn't take me 2 weeks if it can also like just take me like 2 days. And so this is why I ultimately decided to like, okay, I'm going to like develop this kind of hybrid approach with like doing all the audio editing in Ableton, because that just sounds frankly just way better. And then I have like both of them open whenever I produce, and I just save everything out into this like library, and all these numbers folders. It's like I named these like differently over the years, but this is the same concept. It's like every time I work on a new project, I just introduce a new numbered folder, and I can just categorize it. And yeah, this is the approach that I do, and I can just do the audio editing there, export it into those folders, and then export it, import it back into Logic, and yeah, because with audio channels this doesn't really make a huge difference anyway. Like where you edit it, it's like essentially I would need to like export and import anyway, just from one DAW to the same DAW. Then doing it from one to another and back to the same one, it doesn't really make any sort of like quality change or whatnot. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so these clicks will need to be fixed. So any distortion that's clipping related, I'm not worried right now, because I'm just running everything too hot without having limiting or compression on the output. So I don't care much about that at this point in time. What I was listening to is that I want, and I think I achieved it, I want the vocal to essentially sound as good as it possibly could in terms of the balance between the frequency ranges, so that I have enough tone from the singer. I'm also not losing the high end information, but I also like make sure that on the middle, where there's these little like things with these like slight resonances, for example, that I think might need to be like adjusted a little bit. These are also taken care of, and this is what I did. And one thing that I was also thinking about is I lost my thought a little bit, but I remember I was also like thinking something else about the vocals as I was listening. And I'm going my own way, getting over you. Now I'm getting... yes, of course. So that I want to make sure that, and I also believe that this is happening, and this is why I muted the lead to check. And I'm not entirely sure how am I going to go about this, because when both the lead and this lead vocal and this sub vocal is also playing at the same time, it gets a little bit messy at those times. And I don't know if this can be like solved in a traditional way. I mean by just dropping, like keeping constant levels, or if I need to like set up some sort of sidechain routing. This is something that I think I will only decide about this like tomorrow with fresh ears, and possibly on speakers, because like this is the one downside with streaming, is that I can't really like use speakers if I also want to talk. So it's just what it is. But anyways, I would like take so this project obviously won't be finished in like just one sitting, even though there's not a lot that we need to do with me also talking and whatnot. A lot of time is also passing. So yeah, I'm going to like listen tomorrow with fresh ears, like starting right away at this section, trying to get this one right. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's going to be necessary to re-export it. Like if you can re-export it, then the only things that would need to be fixed is like these little cuts, like maybe the fade outs are missing where these phrases are ending, or something. This is what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think we need to do this, but I want to try out if maybe enhancing a little bit of the these like creating some sort of like artificial resonances would help the sub. I think the belly of the sound, like these curves, are a little bit more pronounced like this, and I think I kind of like this better. It gives me a little bit of like more impression of the dynamics. So now without the lead, I hear that I was running the vocals a little bit too loud in general. So the rule of thumb that I'm always trying to go about is that with vocals, I think the main idea is that whenever you have vocals in a track, that's the human element. That's what you want kind of in the middle of everything. And we are talking about electronic dance music, so we're also talking about the kick and the bass hitting as or like being in the middle. But the most important element still has to be the lead vocal, and the lyrics and the understandability and the clarity of the lyrics has to come first in terms of judging any sort of context. So this is the number one objective, in my opinion, is that getting the foundation right at the beginning with the kick and the sub, and like maybe like some drums, or like some of the like in certain tracks, like not in this one currently, but certain tracks build around, for example, a lead or like a pad or like something along these lines. So you gotta have some sort of a foundation where you can like at that point judge the vocal contextually against or like towards. I'm not sure which is the better English word for this, but the point is that at this point I want to make sure that the vocal lyrics is going to be audible, and it's coming through everything else that's happening. And so this is also what I'm listening when I'm trying to level the vocals. And generally speaking, the vocals don't need to be louder than this. So when you reach the point where the lyrics are understandable, very clear, very audible, you don't need to raise the vocal level more, because they will like cut through anyway. So this is how you can make sure that you don't have your vocals too loud, because like I mean, this was my problem in the, at least in the beginning of my like kind of like professional producer like in world, is that I used to like produce and mix all my songs with the vocals being too loud, because I was like too worried about the vocals sounding right. And obviously, you know, you have to make sure that the lyrics are understandable, and like nothing is taking away from the vocal, but at the same time you don't want to like, you know, like overly emphasize the vocal either, because that's going to go against the other elements in the song, and they are not supposed to like compete against each other, but they are supposed to like every single stem is supposed to like complement each other, or like complement each other. I'm not sure how to say this. So basically this is not a competition, but like a collaboration between all of these stems, you know, to create one big cohesive, like very nice sounding result. And of course there's going to be some sort of a hierarchy, like just like with everything else in life. But yeah, hopefully it makes sense what I'm saying.
Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I want. Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again. Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I could see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again.
So obviously I don't want as much bass in the breakdowns as in the drops, but I want some, and I want some more here, because it was the sub frequencies were barely audible in this stem, and so yeah, this is what I was trying to solve. I'm not sure if this is the proper solution for this situation or not. For the time being, I'm going to leave it, and it's very rare that I would use this plugin nowadays, to be honest. Like I much prefer dynamic EQs, but here my first thought was, like, you know, to try this instead of the dynamic EQ, because this is a little bit more flexible in the sense that I'm affecting this range more broadly, and I have like a crossover, which in this situation I wanted to have a crossover to like a little bit like separate these parts, instead of just using an EQ, which is like it like even a dynamic EQ is going to affect a range, but at the same time it's not working with crossovers, and it works with a slightly different principle, which so I just think that this is a better solution for what I had in mind, but I'm not entirely sure if I need to even have any sort of dynamic process here. But yeah, I've been like I've been working on this for like 1 hour and 40 minutes, so I think my ears are also getting tired, so I'm probably going to call it a day soon. But yeah, I just want to like roughly introduce the vocal reverbs also to the session, and I think at that point, when the rough mix is done, and at that point I'm going to like stop. Now this is up to the artists, but for example, this is what I was talking about earlier about understandability of the vocal lyrics. Like here, because of the lower vocal, I don't understand the lyrics of the actual lead vocal. So I think this will eventually have to be muted. But yeah, I'm going to, once again, I'm going to ask the artists about this tomorrow.
Didn't need for you to need me. Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I can see the brighter days, holding on.
So this reverb stem has the dry vocal in itself, I think, too.
Didn't need for you to need me. Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you.
Now, if this was up to me, I would recreate this reverb, and so yeah, I'm not going to do that right now, but I think tomorrow I'm going to try recreating the reverb instead of this one, because it also has the original stem in it. So I would keep this reverb channel for these like effects, but not really for the lead vocal, I think. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you. I mean, it's Rudi's and Marcel's song, and so they are the the ones who can take the credit for the lush sounds. And yeah, the vocal is also great. I 100% agree. Okay, I'm going to send you I'm not sure if I'm going to send you like a bounce of like tonight's version, but probably I'm going to like work on this tomorrow offline. But I wanted to like stream at least a part of this session, just so there's, you know, some value to be to be had also by creating content out of it. And yeah, so good night, Rudy. Tomorrow we'll like also get back to this mix. I'm still going to like work a little bit on this. Like, I just want to like make sure that I could introduce all these stems into the mix, and then yeah, I'm also going to like kind of like quit and then go take a shower or something.
Holding on for too long, nothing was gonna change. But now I see, and I won't go back again. Just wanted you to care. Nights alone without you near me, and I'd always be right there. But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over right there. Now I'm getting over you, and I'm but now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my getting over you. I can see the brighter days, holding on for too long, nothing was gonna change. But now I see, and I won't go back again.
So once again, what I was doing is the same thing what I did previously with mono incompatible channels. Is what I sometimes do is I will take away from the actual stereo image of the stem itself, and I'm gonna go in with videos, an image or two, or like any other like plugin that does the same thing. That, you know, like Isotope's stereoizing function is works like surprisingly well in my opinion. Like I really like, and it sounds like super natural to me, even though it's kind of like doing something alien stuff with like all sorts of like phasing. But the whole point is that how it operates is that it's going to keep the signal mono-compatible, which is pretty important for me when I want to make sure that I want to balance, the vocal levels and also this lead, so that they don't clash with each other. And yeah, this is something that I just did, and I removed 30% and I added back 30% from here. And this is not the same. If I turned off this stereoizing, this would exactly be the same. Like it would just be 100%. But with the stereoizing function on, I'm also creating a little bit more widths, but in a manner where it remains mono-compatible, which is it's just for balancing and like just overall, to make things sound more cohesive in general. It's relatively important for the main elements of any song to primarily be in the middle. Now, because of this process, it now feels slightly thinner, which I'm going to see if I can compensate for this with an EQ.
But now I'm getting over you, and I'm going my own way, getting over you. I can see the brighter days, holding on for too long. Nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again. Back again.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that maybe I overlooked the snare channels or like the other effects. I don't think so. I think those are missing from the folders, because I believe I imported everything, but I'm going to double check if maybe I didn't.
Holding on for too long, nothing was gonna change, but now I see, and I won't go back again. Nothing left to hide, but now I won't be sad or grieving without you by my side. Oh, 'cause now
What I don't necessarily like about the delays and even of the reverb to some degree is that I don't feel it would be wide enough. So I would once again, this is going to be up to the artist, but probably I will like take a look at recreating the delays that they had, and trying out like more ping pong or like stereoized in any other way type of delay solutions and reverb solutions, if maybe those would work better. But these are my final thoughts for for tonight. I mean, I thank you for everyone who tuned in to watch the streams, and also thank you once again for Rudi and for Marcel for sending me over the song to work on this, and for allowing me to stream it. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to stream later sessions of it. I will 100% record the footage, and if Rudi and Marcel is going to be like cool with it, I will also like upload it to the YouTube channel, and maybe I run other stream explaining what I did after this part was done. And yeah, anyways, thank you once again for for everyone who tuned in to this session tonight, and yeah, see you in the next stream, which is I'm not sure when it's going to happen because I will be away for the weekend, but yeah, if I'm really not sure when the next one is going to be happening, but yeah. Once again, thank you all for tuning in, and see you in the next